Hi, my name is Bennett with Answers Not Excuses Fitness Training. Today is Trainer Tip Tuesday, and what we're going to do today is show you two different exercises. One to help mobilize your hips so we can build stronger glutes, and another one to show you how to quit half-assing it. So the first exercise we're going to do is actually something called the scorpion. Now what that's going to do is it's going to be a dynamic flexibility exercise in order to mobilize your hips. What we're going to actually focus on and target are your hip flexors and try to open your hips up when you do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay on the ground. We're going to glue your arms to the ground here. I'm going to take my foot, pick it up. I'm going to try to touch my opposite hand. Now the only thing I want to keep in mind here is I need to keep my arms glued to the ground. So I'm going to reach for it and pretend like I'm going to make it. I just get where I get. I'm going to go on that same flight path though, like I will make it. So I'm not just going to do this because that's not even shooting for that. If I get here, whatever. If I can go here, but I have to lift up my shoulder, that's not what we're looking for either. So I'm going to keep my arm glued down, I'm going to reach, and then I'm going to alternate. So what I generally like doing there is shooting for 20 or 10 aside. Depending on what you feel comfortable with. If you're feeling really stiff or you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so tight, and you start to feel yourself loosen up, that's something you can keep going on. Just reach, slightly encourage it, don't force the range of motion. Now, the strength exercise we're actually gonna look at is gonna be a glute bridge. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lay on your back here. I'm gonna put my ankles right below my knees, and with my feet flat glued to the ground, I'm going to drive my hips up as high as I can and squeeze my butt. Now, when I do that, I'm also going to crawl and shoulder walk my shoulders up under me, and I'm going to drive my hips up. Now, the problem that most people have is their glutes suck and they're super weak. Now, one of the reasons they're weak is their hip flexors are tight. That's where that scorpion comes in. So before you do any glute work that day or any type of lower body exercise, that scorpion is something you could build into your programming. Now, what we're going to want to do here is make sure our hips are in a full extension. Most people can't get there though because this is so tight. So this is something over time you're going to have to consistently work, because most of the time people get here, and with this lack of extension, I can't even fully contract my glutes, and that's not going to help me gain any strength. That's going to really limit my ability to do that. So I want to get all the way up and be able to squeeze my butt through, so I'm actually engaging my glutes here. We also want to make sure that your feet aren't too far away from your body. That's going to typically kick in your hamstrings more. So if you can, we're going to try to get your ankles right below your knees and drive your hips up here. Now this is something we could hold and shoot for a minute. This is something we can also do reps of. But again, we want to make sure we get this full extension. We don't want any of this here. So we want your hips fully flush. A lot of times too, you might feel a tugging up here. And that's going to be typically from those hip flexors being too tight or dominant. So we're going to end up hitting that scorpion. You can come back to that. You could actually program those two together initially and kind of see how you feel. So even if you're doing a lower body day and you hit that scorpion, then you hit like a set of those, and then you came to that glute bridge, and there's a billion different variations of that. Whether you held it for a minute, you shot for a set of 20, and then you did that, and then you moved on to lunges or something, you're going to end up feeling those lunges a lot more in your glutes because they're getting activated through that mobility exercise by loosening up your hips and actually allowing them to get through further. So you don't need to be a mobility freak or a super flexible person in order to do a lot of exercises correctly. You don't have to strive to be insanely mobile, but we need to be mobile enough to function correctly. If your glutes aren't firing, that's going to throw off your pelvis, it's going to throw off your spine, it's going to throw off your posture, it's going to throw off a ton of different things going on in your body. So these are things I look at when I start training people in order to make sure that we're not putting the cart before the horse. If you can't get that full range of motion now, it doesn't make sense to try to max something out because you're just lying to yourself. You're just half-assing it, and then you're just going to get to the point where all of a sudden you get injured or you stop seeing results or progress because your glutes should be one of the strongest muscles in your body, and if you don't have the hip extension to get there, we're wasting your time. We need to make sure you can try to get that hip extension so you can strengthen that, and then we can move forward and we don't have to worry about you getting injured. Just think about your glutes kind of like the airbags to your pelvis. And if that's not there, or your pelvis is tilted one way or the other, now you're going to be throwing off your low back, and that's not going to be sitting in a happy position. So that was Trainer Tip Tuesday, and I hope you found that helpful.